I'm Pastor Corey. If we haven't met, I would love to meet you. This is the lovely Pastor Aaron. Was there sermon last week at Mother's Day? Wasn't it amazing? My favorite part of that sermon was like when she was doing the fruit thing, and we're like, we want to show fruit on the edge of the branch, but maybe our character can't handle it out there. And the closer we are to the trunk of the closer we are to Jesus, the better it is that we're able to bear some fruit. Was that not good? That's my favorite part of that sermon. Do you think it's because of that story that I told that we got off in the worship team? Yeah. I was at a church service last night, and the worship team totally lost the plot. This wasn't bad here, actually. This is pretty funny. Totally lost the plot like 2 times in the worship service, and I leaned over to my pastor friend, and I said, "It's great to be at a place where nobody's looking at me in fear right now." I'm just like, what happened? So anyways, it was pretty funny, but that's why this happened. And you looked at me in fear, but I was very accepting. I thought it was great. Hey, if you're looking for a perfect church, keep looking. Also, every time you step into a perfect church, it's wrecked. So, hey, in 2 weeks we have pizza with pastors. If you've never done that yet, grab a friend, grab anybody with a name tag and say, hey, would you go with me? That is your next step at Venue Church. The pizza's free. We'd love to tell you a little more about the church. That's where you get to see Pastor Aaron and I, and we would love to be able to talk a little bit about the church and really just get to meet you and get to know you a little bit. So if you've never done that, that's your next step, y'all. That would be good. Also, there's lots of opportunities this summer rather than staying home and watching Netflix because you have no friends. You'd be like, church seems great, but I don't have any friends. Okay, well, get some friends in church, but there's also great opportunities to serve the city. So we do a big thing on Parade Day. We also do a big Stampede breakfast, which Stampede breakfast is why the Fords come to church, right? Because we had gluten-free pancakes. I remember being asked, like, do we serve gluten-free pancakes for the hundreds and hundreds of people that come to our Stampede breakfast after church? And I'm like, I don't even know if gluten-free is a thing, everybody. So apparently anyways, I just eat pancakes. I thought pancakes were pancakes. I'm like, I guess we should. I gave the decision to somebody, like, do it. And then you guys came because one of your kids are like, Mom, they have gluten-free pancakes. And you never left. We can't get rid of you. So their son Gunnar, by the way, I'm talking about Tim and Maybell over here. Their son Gunnar is practicing to take over my job and Layden's job on stage. So is he there? Gunnar, come on. Give Gunnar some love. Oh yeah, what? He'll be in Venue Kids. He'll be in Venue Kids. The reason he sits in here sometimes is because he's already been in Venue Kids. But he'll everybody's worshiping and he's micing it across the back of the area of the kids area, like singing it like Layden. He's going for it. So he's gonna take over our job someday. And good riddance to Layden. All right. This is a series called Belonging. It is talking about how do I belong in the family of God. So I know Pastor Aaron's been preaching. I had a couple of guests preaching, but I'm in the saddle here for a few weeks. We're going to talk about the 3 stages of belonging in the family of God. The main character in this series is a lady named Ruth in the Bible. I've never preached about Ruth, so we're going to be going through the entire book of Ruth, really. But before we get going too much, I want to thank a group of people that should never be overlooked in society, certainly never overlooked in the church. And that group of people is grandparents. Don't clap yet. Don't clap yet. Don't clap yet. I know you kind of want. I want to. I heard a stat in the States that there is like a 0% chance of a teenager committing suicide who has a good relationship with their grandparents. You can't out-therapy that. And I'm thinking, why is that? I'm looking at my kids' grandparents, Pastors Richard and Beth, who are retired now, but they live in town here, 4 blocks away from our house. Every Friday night, our kids still go there. And Arwen is like 21 and is on staff here. You're 21? Arwen is 21 and she's on staff. And they still love it. And I want to say, I think we've been going for value systems. I think we've been going to identity, to a lot of other sources. Grandma and Grandpa, here at Venue Church, do your job. Do your job. There is something you bring to us and something you bring to the kids that they can't get they're getting it some other place, but they don't get it like they get it with you. And somebody asked me, like, so what happens if I didn't have good grandparents? Find somebody here with a little gray in their hair and be like, will you be my new grandma? I need a grandma. What can we do next week? I like hot chocolate. Find a surrogate grandparent. If your kids don't have grandparents, we have them in the house of God. But here's also what I want to say. If you're at that age of grandparent, don't just think about your own grandkids. You might not even have them. It's time to get involved in like Venue Kids. I'm like, they need surrogate grandparents. You can be a grandparent to somebody. Here's my big plan as a grandfather. Are you ready? Here's my big plan. I'm going to mess those grandkids up. Oh, guys, this was responsible me. That's a different me altogether. I'm just going to be like, it's ice cream all day, kids, whatever you want. I'm going to tell you, baby, this is your identity in Jesus. This is who God made you to be. You don't have to find it anyplace else. No, baby, you're not a cat. Why would you pick a cat? You're not a cat. You're a little girl. You're a little boy. You're beautiful in the sight of Jesus. Oh, yeah. I'm going to get the lectures. My daughter Ailish is going to be like, Dad, I cannot believe I'm having this talk with you, but you need to crack down on the discipline of my kids. And I'm going to nod and smile and be like, you're right, baby. I've been bad. You're right. I'm going to do my best. I'll be a different person. And then I'm going to hear the ice cream truck, and you're going to find out that I didn't mean it. Would you stand to your feet as we honor grandparents today? Do your job. We need you. We need you. Don't let somebody else do it for you. We need you. We need you. Stay on your feet. Let's read this together. Let's read this together. God makes a home for those who are alone. And that rhymes, and you know that it rhymes. All right, sit down. Thank you. You might be coming in. Thanks, Sean. You might be coming in from the outside. I don't know what experience you've had leading up till this moment, but this might be your first time here. And we would love to meet you. We have a free gift for you in the lobby. I'm sure whoever brought you is going to get you that free gift. We would love to connect you. We want you to be known. But you might be also, you may have been coming for some months now. You're trying to break into this like kind of cool family that you find here. Cool. I use the word cool loosely because I'm looking at y'all. Like it's cool that we belong together. But you're not sure how you fit in. But it says this, God makes a home. My sermon today is called What's Free? So there's 3 stages of belonging in the family of God. And so I always want to know if I'm going to a store, like what's free? What's on sale? So what's free? It said God makes a home. So before you even got here, there's a home for you because God made it. God made it. You had nothing to do with it. You had no way of investing in it before you got here. God made a home. Our false belief today that we're going to go after and tear down. I don't know if you know this about false beliefs, but you think a certain way because of a false belief. You feel a certain way because of a false belief. You act out in your behavior because of a false belief. I think too many of my sermons are really about behaviors of like, stop it. Yeah, but the reason that we do that is because we believe something that's wrong underneath it all that allows all of those things to kind of trickle down. Here's our false belief we're going to fix today, that I had anything to do with my adoption. I had anything to do with it. Nobody's sitting here in the family of God got here because of anything that we did or any merit. The only thing that we do, I guess we do a little something. Pick me. Me. See me. Pick me. Adopt me. That's stage 1. Every other place in the world out there in society that we're seeing right now is this whole idea of like, well, these people look like me, so I'm going to hang out with them. They look like me. They think like me. I'm identifying because of sexual practice, right? Like we're identifying. Here's the other thing. You weren't born sexually active, by the way. So identifying because of sexuality is just really, really messed up. You are more than your sexual practices, right? But like I see. Yeah, is that good? You can clap for that. It's a dead-end trail that goes nowhere real quick. But I identify because of gender roles. I identify because of race. I look like these people. So I'm going to hang out with these people. I identify politically. I identify economically. We don't hang out with those people. They got too much. Or they don't got enough. They don't know how I feel. They don't know how I think. See, you have to believe the same thing before you get into it. But the things that divide society actually unify the church. We're working so hard to celebrate diversity out there, but that's not really what we're talking about. You know what we're talking about? This is what I hear now, like, I'll love you if you agree with me. What? Now I have to agree with you for you to love me? That's messed up. So you hate me if I disagree? So if you like Toyotas and I like, where does it go? Where does it end? It's messed up. You know why it's like that? And you know why the local church is the only place on earth that actually celebrates diversity the way that it ought to? Is because we have a different dad than they have. Right. Our dad, Jesus is the referee. He's like, oh, timeout, foul. Apologize to your sister. I don't want to apologize. You apologize. Sorry. Mean it. Sorry. You know what the difference is? And I'm not mad at society or any human-oriented anything. I'm a human, right? So you know what we have that's different? We have a sheer amount of love here that nobody else can touch. Yeah. Like when you give love out there, it empties your gas tank. Then you got to figure out a way to fill it. Then you look to people to fill it. And like here, it's like a river that we just dip into when we need it. And there is so much love here that it can overcome any racism you've ever experienced. It can overcome any trauma, any hurt, any pain. There is so much forgiveness and love here. Anything you've ever done, you can come in here. You feel it. I hope you feel it when you walk in here. If you don't feel it, I will remove the person at that door. I will put them in the computer room up there right now so they don't talk to humans again. I hope you feel... Seriously, the people up in the computer room are like, don't bring humans up here. It's just us and the computers. We're getting the message out, but we get this. We don't get... This is why we can joke around about stuff. It's because we're family, but we're family in a way that the world doesn't even know. You know, we were talking last night, we were joking around with some of our friends here, and Ludovic, who you saw on stage, Ludovic, wave at everybody. Look at that lovely smile. Ludovic said the first time she came to Venue Church, the very first time, one of our Venue ladies here said to her, the first thing she heard was, oh, I love black people. And her son, the lady's son, was there, standing there, just like, oh, Mom. Like, oh, you can't say that. And I love black people. Out of every nation and every tribe, every economic status, every experience, there is a God and Father of all, who is above all and through all and in all, that's like, love your sister. She's black and she's beautiful. Come on. I know what I did there. I know all the white people in the room are like, you can't say that. All the black people are like, we love this. Let's go. You know, here's the funny thing about all of that is that all the things that the devil uses to divide and hate, but she comes from Rwanda. So she knows a different kind of racism too. Where the church is a place where it's like, it doesn't matter what tribe you're from, love your brother. We're going to let the past go. We're going to forgive. We're going to get over it, and we're going to work with each other to build something that's greater. She also, I'm going to say it. You can't make me not say it. So her mom said when they first came to Calgary, they saw Sudanese people for the first time. Do we have any Sudanese in the house right now? Yeah. And she's like, I'm like, I thought we were black, but they're black. She goes, we're brown. That's what she said. There's a beauty about everything that... And Ludovic actually went tanning because her friends went tanning one time. Get some color on that face. I'm like, why'd you go tanning? It doesn't even make any sense to us. Tanning is for white people. You know, her dad, Emmanuel, who's sitting right back there, he said the first time I walked into Venue Church, I walked in the back and I said, this is not a white church. And I'm like, yes! Oh, I'm going to get into so much trouble. I'm like, we got rhythm. We're not buttoned up. We laugh at the preacher. We amen. Come on, somebody. You know why we can joke about it? If you're in on the outside, you're looking at this, and you might be offended on behalf of somebody who's really enjoying this right now, whose skin looks different than your skin. You don't get it because you're not family. But if you're family, then you get it, because we're not here to expose each other's anything. We're here to cover each other and to love each other and to celebrate all the things that make us different. You don't have to think the same as the person beside you to work towards the same goal. You don't have to see eye to eye to walk hand in hand. It's a beautiful thing, as long as God is our dad. Pastor Aaron every now and again should be like, I want a black baby. And I'm like, you're going to have to steal one, because like this. At first I was offended. I'm like, what are you saying? Because that plus this does not equal that. She's like, well, we could adopt. And I'm like, okay, I get it now. It starts with being born into a family. It starts being born into a family. That's the hard part, I think, for us right now, is just like, I want to be part of this family, but the family being born into it doesn't start with the choice that you made or even could make. I remember when Arwen was born. Arwen is sitting right there, our beautiful oldest girl. The first kid, and look, if you haven't been able to have children, we feel your pain. We understand this. We're not trying to make fun of you in any way, but there are children at Venue that need you. There are children at youth that their parents aren't there, aren't engaged, don't know what to do, or just need some help. I'm like, dig in, be a surrogate parent for somebody, help out. And so, but when Arwen was born, the first kid, they always freak you out about everything. If you got 4 kids like us, by the time the 4th one comes around, we're like, you're on your own. But the first one, you know what they told us about Arwen? Can everybody just look at her? They said, her head is too big for her body. And I'm like, I don't think you're legally allowed to shrink a baby's head. Like, are you? What do you do? Lord, I just prayed that my baby's head would get small. Like, you go to jail for stuff like that. But I remember the night Arwen was born, Pastor Aaron got ambulanced into Peter Lougheed. And that was like a long night and a very memorable night. I was the dad who had never watched a birthing video, and I didn't grow up on the farm, so the whole thing to me was just like, oh my goodness, come out of an egg next time, And so like, I don't know nothing about nothing. All y'all are sensitive now, but I was not that guy. I'm just like, oh, what's happening? Like, oh, no. And so the nurses all could sense my panic and gave me the throwaway jobs for the useless guy. And I knew that's what it was, but I was just glad to help. There was a $2,000 leather lazy boy chair sitting behind me that I didn't sit in all night. And I don't want to sound like the hero here, but but I had a bad ankle, and I was wearing the wrong shoes, and my foot was real sore all night. I'm just kidding. Pastor Aaron is the hero in all of that. Then we had Ailish, and Ailish, who's sitting right there, our beauty. Ailish was far less agreeable when she was small, and was the reason that we waited an extra 6 months over the 2 years that we were thinking about to have Katie, because her response to everything was no. No. She says yes more now, but it's kind of funny, actually, a little bit more. I remember Ailish being born. I remember walking into my dad's church at the time, Pastor Richard's church, and thinking in the back of my mind, because we'd had 2 girls. I forgot to tell you this story. I thought we were going to have boys, because I grew up with one disappointing brother, and so there was just boys in them. And so I was so excited to have a girl. I was just like, oh my goodness. So I run downstairs into Peter Lougheed, and I phoned the local Irish dance school. And I asked, so when can I enroll? What's the soonest I can enroll a girl in Irish dancing? And she says, well, how old is she now? And I'm like 2 hours? And she's like, sweetheart, you'll have to wait about 5 years for that. That's how excited I was about that. Hey, if you get baptized, you give your life to Jesus, I'm still dad excited. Like, there's nothing going on in my brain other than like love panic. I'm just like, yes. Then Ailish was born. I love my girl, Ailish. You know what God said to me when I walked into the back of my dad's church? I was the first one at church. I'd get there to set up. And Aaron was still probably in the hospital maybe, I think. And I was there serving in the house of God. I was so grateful that Mom and Ailish were healthy. And then the Lord said to me, because in the very back of my mind, I'm like, but do we keep going to have a boy, for the family name and all of that stuff? In the very, very back of my mind. And God said to me, he said, I hate crying. I've never told this without crying. He said, not a lot of my girls in the world have good dads, and I wanted this one to have one. So that was Ailish. And I also knew that he was telling me indirectly that we could have 50 kids and they'd all be girls. Then Katie came, and Katie's smarter than all of us, and I don't care for that. Katie's the kid that, before that, the other two, they could ask me questions, and they'd be like, Dad, why does the sun come up? And I'd be like, solar winds? You just make up stuff because your kids don't know, right? And Katie, she knew. And she'd be like, actually, that was her big word, actually, Dad. Because she knew. And I made some mistakes in life. I had kids that were smarter than me, and I married somebody smarter than me. I regret both of those things now, but... And then Nilo, the sunshine happiness bomb, was born. She comes bouncing down the stairs every morning because God tricked us and gave us last. We got her last. So if we'd had her first, we would have probably stopped. She just comes bouncing down the stairs in the morning, bouncing down the stairs, morning, sweetie. She goes, good morning, Dad. How did you sleep? The other kids are like, we don't care how you slept. We're tired. I just remember all those moments, But then there's different stages of growing up. Then Arwen started to grow up. Then she started to clean up her own toys. Well, this is like the family of God. Then she started feeding herself. Then she started doing the good girl dance when she learned how to use the potty. You pastor your own church, and you can tell all the stories about me you want to. But you know who didn't have much to say with the whole birthing process? Any of our kids. They're not the product of genius. They're not the product of anything that they brought to the table. Sure, being born is a little awkward, but they didn't have a choice about that either. They were the product of a decision that their mother and I made to love each other. You are here not because of anything you brought to the table. You are here because you were greatly loved by God. You are the product of such love that you don't even understand yet. And that's how valuable you are. But it doesn't start with anything that you did or could ever become. No, we don't need anything from you. That's not where it starts. Belonging starts because God decided that he had too much love and he needed to give it away to somebody, and he created you. Don't ever think you were born on accident or the circumstances surrounding your family of origin aren't seen by God. He has a plan to redeem anything that has ever happened to you, but I'm going to explain that in a second. The first step is being born. That's when you hear every week. Here at Venue Church, we're here to help people know God. Well, you can't do anything till you know God. So welcome to church. We're here to help you know God, to find belonging. This is you belong before you believe anything or understand anything or do anything or know anything. You're invited into a relationship somebody else created. But you were invited into a relationship that was extremely costly, but not to you. See, salvation was free, but not to Jesus. Our kids being born was free to them, but it cost mom a lot. Can I just explain what salvation is, by the way? Because there's all this Christianese that you may not speak yet. Being saved, see, salvation, you need to be born again, because the first time you were born into sin. So Adam and Eve, Grandpa Adam and Eve really messed things up for the human race. They were born into paradise, which was what God intended all along. And then they're like, you know what, God, you've been great. We would rather have a snake as a dad. So what we did was we divorced Heavenly Father and married the weird snake stepdad. And every child after that, born through a father, was born into sin. So we are born into a family name that results in sin always creates separation. So darkness always separates. But God is pure light. In him is holiness only. So what accord, it says, does light have with darkness? And so God is watching the state of the human race being born and born and born into sin. And then you obviously choose sin. So it's like the double sin whammy that separates you from God. Then God sends Jesus, the perfect Lamb of God, born of a woman, but not born of a man, immaculate conception of the Holy Spirit, because he did not get the sin nature passed to him. Committed no, you got to watch The Chosen, everybody. Commits no sin, the perfect, blameless, spotless Lamb of God, sacrificed so that the blood of his offering could cover your sin, so that's the cost of your adoption into this family. So even when you sin, you ask for forgiveness, and God doesn't see your sin, he sees Jesus. And you are adopted into family. That's why you get to go to heaven, not because God hates people and created hell for people. He created hell for the devil. But if he's your dad, that's where you go. But our home is heaven, because that's where our dad is. Does that make sense? And some of you have never formalized that. That's the first step, but don't act like you bring anything to this. Some of you are like, I'm just going to get all cleaned up before I get a shower. We're like, well, no, there's no point. In fact, failure was kind of the point of like, you know that you can't do this, right? So, welcome to the family. Pick me. The second thing that I'm going to preach about next week is called personal growth. And that's where we want you to know God, we want you to find freedom. Well, finding freedom, you got to grow up a little bit. You got to be like, okay, I should probably not choose these things. I should probably choose these things. We got to go back and settle the past. We got to wash our own face. We got to kind of clean up our toys. We got to apologize for some stuff. We got to grow up. You got to start looking after, yourself a little bit. This is where we start going to church because we need it. We go to small group because we need it. We read our Bibles because we need it. But nobody can grow up for you. But that's like a personal thing. It's like clean up your dang room. Right? The third thing, this is where the magic is being part of a family, that it's going to be week 3. And this is where, know God, find freedom, where you discover your purpose and where you make a difference. This is where all the connection actually happens. So this moves the motive from getting healthy to personal happiness to, I want to get healthy because I need to help, which the Bible says is where personal happiness comes from. So this is where we really start getting connected. This is where it's like, hey, you're not just cleaning up your room. You're going to actually take the trash out, everybody's trash out. You're going to do the dishes, not just your dishes. You're going to do everybody's dishes. This is where you go to church now. You don't even go for you anymore. You go for others, and God meets you there. And as a byproduct, all of your needs are met because you are helping other people. You don't go to small group for you anymore. You go to small group because somebody needs you to be there. Somebody needs you to you need to hear their story. You need to help in their lives. Now, God chose to birth you into this home, but that doesn't mean that you know what it means. You were loved with great love, but that doesn't mean that you know how to love. Jesus is beautiful, but that doesn't mean you look like him. And so these are the stages that are totally voluntary, the next stages that we move into. Now, Jesus, you got to understand, though, Jesus loves you just the way that you are, but he loves you way too much to leave you like that. But some people get stuck in the Christian baby stage. Church people, man. Like, why go to the bathroom when you can go right there? Why clean up when somebody else will do it for you? It can actually create entitlement if you stay in this stage too long. We don't have much time that we really are allowed to stay in this stage, but nap time is any time. The expectations are really low. We're not expecting you to be able to do anything or to really help people all that much, although we think you should start pretty quickly. But this is where, if you don't like something, holler, and somebody comes to running. Now, are you ready? The world really does revolve around you at this stage from your perspective, because you're face down in the rug on the living room floor. So as a Christian baby, that's where we are. Hey, you're not doing much here. We're glad that you're here. But from your point of view, it's this all revolves around me, and it kind of does. But then we got to get you into this, hey, church can be a little about you, but not a lot, because that makes everything about you, and it's not. It's about Jesus. And so I feel like that hurt somebody's feelings. Just holler into that carpet. It's okay. This is where Paul the Apostle says, no prolonged infancies, please. The 6-month-old in a carriage when I'm walking the dog, because we got a dog now. The 6-month-old, I'm always like, hey, buddy. If I look in there and it's a 16-year-old, I'm not, hey, buddy. I'm like, push that thing down a hill, man. Like, oh, my goodness. Got facial hair. Mama. No, man. Because you are birthed into a war for the souls of people around you. We don't have much time in this Christian infancy stage. It's great. Everything will be given to you, but you have to understand, like, we got to grow up quick. We got to start running quick. But it all starts with a relationship. Now, our main character in this whole series is a woman named Ruth. So Ruth has never been to church or Israel. So Israel here kind of represents the church. She's never been to church. She doesn't speak the language in Israel. She comes in. She doesn't know when to clap or sing. She doesn't know how to check her kids in. She never been here before. She's not in this family. Naomi came from Israel. Maybe it's your story. I came from church. I left, but I'm coming back. So in the days when the judges ruled in Israel, a severe famine came upon the land because they would always like, hey, Yahweh's great, but let's go and serve other gods because we're knuckleheads, you know. Let's do that, but then a famine always starts the minute that you stop serving God and start serving another god, then you get what they bring to the table. And so a man from Bethlehem, oh, just wait till the last sermon, you're going to love it. Bethlehem in Judah. Do y'all know Bethlehem? Jesus was born in Bethlehem. Y'all didn't grow up in church? It's okay. Read your Bibles. I can't read. Okay. He left his home and went to live in Moab, taking his wife and 2 sons. Then Elimelech died. So dad died, and Naomi was left with her 2 sons. So this is a place where the word actually means sojourn. So he wasn't planning on being gone that long. But what turned into a few weeks of him leaving, or maybe you leaving church, like, I'm just going to leave. I'm upset about something. What started as a few weeks actually turned into 10 years of tragedy. Now, here's the hard thing is that if you leave the house of God, God can't protect you out there doing whatever you wanted to, living with other dads. You know what I'm saying? So they move out from the protection, and not that there's not tragedy and trauma that happens in your life wherever you go, but God can't heal you out there because you're in somebody else's house. And so he died. Naomi was left with her 2 sons. They had married married a woman named Orpah and the other named Ruth. But 10 years later, their husbands both died. Both of her sons died. This left her completely alone without her 2 sons or her husband. Then she heard in Moab that the Lord had blessed his people in Judah by giving them good crops again. So this is when you're living your life out there and you hear like you're at a city event, you're at the parade, or you're at the children's festival, which is coming up. You should volunteer. And you see like, what are all those people wearing the gold shirts with a V on it? Like, they seem happier than I am. And you see like, hey, it looks like they know why they exist. It looks like they're together. It looks like a family. And you start coming to Venue Church because she's like, I heard that God was blessing people and blessing them again. And so she and her daughters-in-law got ready to leave Moab to return to her homeland. But on the way, Naomi said to her daughters-in-law, go back to your mom's houses, and may the Lord reward you for your kindness. Again, they wept together. And it says one of them, Orpah, she kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, and she went back. Look, Naomi said to her, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her gods. Like, you should do the same. This is super interesting, is that God will never force you to do anything. He's not going to force you to come into the family of God. Maybe your dad was like a forceful person, or your mother, but God is not like that in that way. He disciplines, absolutely. But you got to sign up for the rest of it. Like, it's up to you. Like, sow the seed if you want the harvest. And so this is when people, if they leave in the infancy stage, sometimes they get mad at church and are like, they're trying to make us serve. And we're like, you won't be happy till you do. Like, so I was like, they're trying to force us to tithe and give a tenth. And I'm like, we don't force anybody. We're just like, do it if you want to be blessed by the Lord, or don't. You know, but you don't really understand your purpose is found in the giving. It's better to give than it is to receive. And God's like, I'm trying to pour blessings out on you. Why are you robbing me of the ability to bless you? Like, but this is where it's like people get all upset. But in the baby stage, you don't really get it, right? You're just still like, they're trying to force us to do stuff. We're like, you don't have to be here if you don't want to. You can go back to your old dad. He's a creep, but like, do it or don't do it. Like, it's up to you. God never took your choice away. We're not gonna. But stage 1 is unconditional, by the way. If you put your hand up, it's like unconditional. Absolutely, come on in. Stage 2 and 3 are very conditional because you need to grow up and you need to learn how to be a part of a family. It doesn't build a relationship, but it sure maintains it. If nobody takes the trash out, stuff starts stinking. It stinks so bad in here. Who should have taken the trash out? It was probably Layden. I just made that up. Okay, I got to keep moving because I'm out of time. But Ruth replied, and I hope this is your response, don't ask me to leave you and turn back. I see something over there that I've never been a part of before. Right. I'm scared to death, but that's got to be better than where I came from. Wherever you go, I'll go. Wherever you live, I'll live. Your people will be my people. Your God will be my God. I have no idea how to act in that family, but I want it. Wherever you die, I'll die. I'll be buried there. May the Lord punish me if I allow anything but death to separate us. When Naomi saw that Ruth was determined to go with her, she said nothing more. So the two of them continued on their journey. When they came to Bethlehem, the entire town was excited by their arrival. Is it really Naomi, the women asked? This is when, if you've left church. If you've left church, I already know what's happened. You left because maybe somebody hurt you, or maybe you made a mistake. This is very common. You made a mistake and you were just too proud to kind of lean into it. You didn't really know how to resolve the separation that happened there. And so ever since then, the devil's been building in your mind this picture of a perfect church that doesn't have any people in it except you, and you're perfect, right? But he's created a story about why you left. And Naomi comes back, and there's this beautiful moment where all the women in town are like, you're back. Where have you been? But that doesn't agree with your story that you made about, I left the church because the church was full of hate. No, not at all. The church is full of love. There's too much love. We have to give it away to people. But this is where you got to start unwinding that story that the devil seeded in there about why you left. Sometimes you just left because you just left. But look, we're not mad about it. We're not mad. God's not mad. He's just like, welcome back. Where have you been? Welcome back. We love you. It's all good. So Naomi returned from Moab, accompanied by her daughter-in-law Ruth, the young Moabite woman. They arrived in Bethlehem in late spring at the beginning of the barley harvest. It's very interesting. They both come back. Ruth for the first time. Maybe that's you. Naomi, she's coming back. Neither of them have anything. They're not bringing anything to the party. They need a lot. They're in this like spiritual infancy stage of like, we're back, but we don't have anything to offer yet, but we're here. And I just want to say, don't ever feel bad about that. Like, we don't know the songs that we're singing. Like, you can listen to the songs at home and catch up. Then you'll be a pro next week. If you listen to a song 100 times, you'll be a pro. Don't worry about it. We don't know how to take out the trash. Don't worry about it. We'll teach you. We don't know how to forgive. Don't worry about it. We don't know that gossip is bad. Don't worry about it. We'll teach you. There's this funny little thing that our youth leaders were teaching the junior girls. So how old are junior girls? Grade 5 and 6. So this is like pre-youth girls. And they were teaching, this is so cute. Guys, gossip is bad. And all the junior girls are like, what? Like minds blown. What? But it's so fun. That's what they said. It's so fun and everybody does it. It's like, don't worry about it. We'll teach you, but you can't gossip about family without hurting yourself. We don't do that here. We don't gossip about people. We don't, if you've got a problem, take it up. Don't take it sideways and down. Don't complain. Oh, it's fun to gossip about other people until it happens to you. Then you don't feel come on. It's okay. Don't worry if you think that being honest in business, that it's going to be impossible to make any money. With God, he can turn a little honesty into a lot. Oh, this is a different dad here. Don't worry if you've never been without a boyfriend. You're trying to stave off loneliness. Oh, no, a boy can't do that for you. But Jesus can. You know how many lonely married people are there? Oh, no, only Jesus can do that. Don't worry if nothing in your life has worked. It's just going to feel like it's too good to be true. Can I just let you in on something? It is. It's way too good to be true. You're in a place that you had nothing to do with, and God has everything to do with. It's way too good to be true. None of us deserve to be here. None of us ever will. That's why we praise. So I throw up my hand, praise you again and again. It's all that I have. With nothing else fit for a king, except for a heart saying, pick me again. Just pick me. We were birthed by great love. More love than you'll ever even be able to handle. Welcome to the family. We'll teach you how to do the rest.